I am sick of the Joe Rogan of the left. The left's answer to Andrew Tate. The left-wing solution to the manosphere. I'm sick of it. But the idea that that means he's not a Nepo baby is delusional. And then, yeah, half of that soundbites that people go after Hasan for aren't even bad. Oh, I understand that sometimes people say crazy things that seem crazy, but if you actually look at the context of what they try to argue, it isn't actually crazy. And then he has taken that tiny quote, and then in his mind interpreted it to mean, don't even bother thinking about that. But no, the point he was making was that it doesn't change the he says in the next line, it doesn't change the dynamic for me one bit. Okay, guys, we've got 2 Asmongold videos to watch, okay? One called Trump admin is arresting judges now. And another called How is this a real article about the Hasan Piker puff piece? So I have to... are we finally reaching the point where Asmongold, now that polling numbers are looking pretty bad for Trump, now that his approval rating is terrible, is Asmongold finally gonna switch? Let's see.
This is crazy. So they are arresting judges now. So for a while, remember that one? It was like a governor that was talking about like keeping illegal immigrants in their house. Yeah, bro, they're putting the judges in jail.
So rare for victims to want to cooperate. They wanted to cooperate. They were sitting in the courtroom with the state prosecutor. The judge learns that ICE was outside to get the guy because he had been deported in 2013, came back in our country, commits these crimes, charged with committing these crimes. Victims in court. Judge finds out. She goes out in the hallway, screams at the immigration officers. She's furious, visibly shaken, upset, sends them off to...
Yeah, it's almost like she was trying to maintain due process.
Talk to the chief judge. She comes back in the courtroom. You're not going to believe this. Takes the defendant and the defense attorney back in her chambers, takes them out of private exit and tells them to leave. While a state prosecutor and victims of domestic violence are sitting in the courtroom.
Wow.
You know, Madam Attorney General, great to have...
Man. Bro. Man.
Have you here, and thanks for coming back on America Report. So we remember these words of Tom Homan, the borders.
There's not going to be even any slight issue. He's actually just going to, he's literally going to watch Fox and nod and agree the entire time about how you don't need due process for immigrants. Oh my God, get me out. I can't watch that one.
New York Times
Let's try the Hasan one.
Backlash for its apparently glowing review of controversial Twitch streamer Hasan Piker.
The Times initially headlined its profile, "A Progressive Mind in a MAGA Body," with the subhead reading, "Hasan Piker pumps iron."
He's got to tell them that, like, you need to stop, like, they have to be more critical, because if they're not more critical, everybody is going to think that it's like a cool...
Oh yeah, by the way, all of the hysteria about this article about Hasan is totally unjustified, by the way. If you actually bother reading the article, it brings up his main controversies. It brings up the criticisms. It does bring them up. It is critical. It isn't just a puff piece. It is a positive article, if you take it as a whole, but it brings up the criticisms. It doesn't just ignore them. So anyone that says this is just outing themselves as being illiterate and having not read the article.
Thing. Like, it's almost like basically they're doing him a disservice.
Asmongold is going to watch a full 20-minute video on an article he has not read and make repeated statements about the contents of the article. This is truly amazing stuff.
By being so uncritical.
Likes weapons and wears pearls. His brand of masculinity has won him many fans online and has been a useful vehicle for his politics.
Times, however, apparently changed that headline to read, "A progressive mind in a body made for the manosphere." Piker, as some of you may know, has said some contentious things in the past. He once suggested that he didn't, quote, have an issue with...
Well, yeah, because a MAGA body is actually like 50 years old, alcoholic, overweight. Yeah, Hasan isn't in a MAGA body. Correct. Yeah, the article title was misinformation.
Hezbollah. Piker also said the U.S. deserved the 9/11 attack, something the New York Times did note in the piece.
The Times' profile.
I feel like all of that is not even close to as bad as interviewing a Houthi terrorist and then saying we support you at the end of it. Like, it's one thing to interview the Taliban or ISIS or whatever. I don't think that's a big deal. I think it's fine. But after watching the interview myself, because I originally defended this, I defended him doing this a lot. And I said, well, you know, journalism, it's going to get messy in some cases, and that's fine. But the fact is that if you're glazing, no, I was just, I don't know, like, I guess I was being naive. But I assumed that he didn't glaze the terrorist. It turns out I was wrong.
While touched on the fact that Piker gets...
What terrorist? He's talking about the Houthi kid?
There's a line. Yeah, find Asmon, you get it.
It's not even proven, dude. It's literally not even
proven.
proven that kid's a terrorist. Everyone takes it as a given that he's like a armed combatant for the Houthis. It's not even proven that he's like propaganda for the Houthis. He seems to have some connections. Seems to be the case. He's probably trying to spin a positive narrative for them, doing a bit of terrorist apologia, terrorist propaganda willingly, perhaps. But there's no evidence to show that he works for the Houthis, that he is a Houthi, that's not shown.
I know, but here's the difference between me being wrong and other people being wrong. You hear about me being wrong from me.
It's like, I'm not saying he's not a Houthi at all. Not claiming that. But I'm saying it has not been evidenced to me definitively it is a Houthi. You're just expected to take it based on a translation that some people claim is actually referring to a TikTok he saw that claims that he was with the prisoners. That's like the key piece of evidence. And then they say, well, he's with a gun in this photo. It's like, I'm pretty sure Yemen has one of the most armed populations in the world.
Away with things he says and does, like painting his nails or wearing pearls, because he has what one sociologist called jock insurance. In other words, his masculine gender capital gives him leeway to do and say outside-the-box things. The Times also...
This is a general reality. You could look at it like the, halo effect. If somebody's attractive or good-looking or whatever, they're more positively received in a general sense. You see this all the time. If Luigi Mangione looked like me, there wouldn't be any girls crying for his removal. They'd be crying to have him executed, okay? So that's just how it is. And so it's an obvious truth, right? People are going to like you if you're attractive, and they're going to hate you if you're not. That's life.
Conceded.
And I think also attraction is only one component to it. Like, for example, a lot of dictators and terrorist leaders, they've got a lot of riz. They do. They're really charismatic. They're very likable people. They're extremely charismatic. Look at Che Guevara in interviews. Bro, this guy's, oh my God, bro, this guy's cool. This guy's super cool. Yeah, that's it. They're smart.
Wow.
Yeah, they're smart. That's stupid. Exactly, and I think it's very persuasive. Extremely persuasive.
Is due to the fact that he's, quote, a very handsome man.
Lucky him. Reactions abounded on X. Journalist Mary Catherine Ham wrote this: I kind of love that gushing media coverage of Hasan has to apologize for the fact that he's good looking and fit. Like, don't worry, although he looks like he's seen the inside of a gym. Bad. That's right coded. He's a shill for disaster.
Why is it that I don't understand how this is a winning proposition to create the narrative that people that are in shape and attractive and healthy are right wing. Like, why? How did you think that creating this narrative was a good
I actually
idea?
totally agree
This
with
is
Asmongold.
like the work.
Rare Asmongold take that I'm just 100% on board with. The title is just like retarded. And I'm fucking sick. I am sick of the Joe Rogan of the left. The left's answer to Andrew Tate. The left-wing solution to the manosphere. I'm sick of it. I'm fucking sick of it. Shut up. Do your own thing. Why does it have to be an answer to something else?
Worst idea that you could possibly have. It's true? It doesn't matter if it's true. You don't say it. You should be like, no, it's not true. You never say it.
After socialism and murderous terrorists, which is good.
Meanwhile, journalist Mehdi Hasan wrote on Blue Sky, I'm glad the New York Times profile...
So guys, now is a great time to remind you, okay? If you haven't already liked the stream, okay, move your cursor thumbs up and click it, or press thumbs up on your mobile device. Be hugely appreciated. If you want to take your sport one step further, you can donate directly through a Stream Elements link in the pinned chat message. You can also buy a membership to the channel, gift a membership to the channel, gift a whole bunch of memberships randomly throughout the chat, buy a super chat which will highlight a message and read it out on TTS, or buy a super sticker which is a YouTube image or GIF, that will be highlighted in chat, and I'll describe it to you. You can go to discord.gg/Kuihman, twitter.com/Kuihman, or reddit.com/r/Kuihman. Also, make sure you go to twitch.tv/Kuihman and follow over there. We're now multi-streaming on Twitch whenever we're on YouTube, so very epic.
Filed Hasan Piker, but calling his use of the word genocide to describe Gaza extreme is insane. Some of Israel's top Holocaust scholars are calling it a genocide, as are Amnesty and Human Rights Watch. Absurd from the NYT.
So, this profile, I think, was...
So it's vocabulary, right? I mean, I you know, okay.
Is interesting and flawed in a variety of ways. It was very glowing toward Hasan Piker. The author seems to have a crush on this guy. It just...
This is even a, like, this is the hill. Even he's saying it.
There's no way you think that rising on the hill is just like... Well, even he's saying it. This is the most lefty standard show in the world. It's not. It's not.
Rising is insane. What makes you think your opinion on this matters?
Dude, I'm so glad that Twitch poll has devolved to the point that it's firmly in the hands of Asman. W. Asmongold, L. Destiny, L. Vosh, L. Hasan, L. Everyone.
Well, all those guys, I mean, dude, it's so funny. I saw DGGs talking shit on Vosh again the other day. Why? They agree on everything. Where did DGGs and Vosh fans meaningfully differ? Where does Destiny meaningfully differ from Vosh at this point? But isn't Vosh... I understand Vosh is more pro-Palestine, but he is not the way he used to be on it at all. He's quite moderate. I mean, we all remember we got banned from Twitch for, right? But, like, the main thing that everyone, all the DGGs at least, hated Vosh for was basically the violent rhetoric stuff, right? It was saying, like, the country's collapsing, you should arm yourselves, you should be ready if there's a conservative truck going through your street. You know, that's where they differed years ago, really. But now they both agree on that. Now they both do basically think there should be violent revolution against the state. And they all think that they should be armed to the teeth and ready for the government. Well, yeah, exactly. And Vosh was never a real socialist, truly, anyway. He's like he's capitalism light. Right, he calls it super capitalism. He did that whole thing where he calls it super capitalism. He's trying to appeal to conservatives. But no, it's capitalism light. It's just like, oh, it's like capitalism except worker ownership. It's like, okay, man.
The fact that you're asking me.
Described, yes, he's a good-looking man who works out. Congrats to him. It was that point over and over and over again. Like, that's shocking. Also, it's kind of weird, the initial framing that, like...
A MAGA body, that part.
Right, liberals are trying to manifest the idea that only conservative people... Work out. I'm not even sure that on average...
It's so stupid. Like, why would you even do that?
He used to go, what does he call himself? An anarcho-syndicalist. Right? That's what he used to say. Anarcho-syndicalist.
That conservative people are going to be in better shape than liberal people. That might
I
probably
don't know.
breaks down by income level and a bunch of other things. I don't
And
know.
urban, rural.
Well, if it does break down on income level, then it would make sense because people of higher incomes are, in my understanding, more conservative on average. So there's probably a correlation here, but I don't think you should leverage that.
And all that.
There is something true, however, to the fact now that, I mean, I've seen plenty of articles in like ridiculous liberal
Hobbs and
publications being like, do you
Are
like
there
working
no
Age? Yeah,
ridiculous
I'm thinking about
liberal
age.
publications?
There's, like,
What's that?
I was thinking like Jezebel type place. I don't even know if Jezebel's still in operation.
Yeah, yeah.
Something like that. Like, working out is right wing coded, and are you a secretly?
Dude, I'm so glad that that era of internet discourse is dead. I am. That was the dumbest era of discourse on the internet
Even more
that we've
retarded in
ever
the opposite
had.
direction now. Great.
It was so brain dead, pointless, stupid, like weird. I'm so happy about this.
A fascist if you work out. There has been a lot of that discourse
Yeah,
in
pure
progressive
brain
circles
rot,
now,
exactly.
So I see where they got
Yes,
this idea.
it was an ideology that was completely created by Karens.
But it's not true.
That's correct.
Wow.
That working out is somehow
It's
right
stupid.
wing coded.
It's so stupid.
Look, I don't actually pay very much attention to Hasan Piker. He is a big deal on Twitch. He's very,
Yep.
very left-leaning, like extremely socialist, extremely anti-Israel. I didn't know. One thing I learned
Yeah,
from
he doesn't
reading
like
this piece,
Israel.
which I didn't know, but maybe everyone knows, is that he admits to being a Nepo baby. He got his start. I assumed he just like emerged naturally on playing video games on Twitch.
Yeah,
the way
he
a lot of
doesn't
people
admit to being a Nepo baby quite, does he? He does say how he got his start. He doesn't admit that he's a Nepo baby.
But no, Cenk Uyghur's his uncle.
Right, and gave him a job.
I don't think that matters. In Hasan's credit, and I know people get mad about this, but I do try to be fair. Nobody can gain and maintain popularity on Twitch because they are friends or they know somebody else who's popular. There are people who are friends
Not
with other
true.
people that are popular that do not maintain that relevancy to any degree.
Okay, but dude, this is such a retarded argument. Well, some people don't manage it, so that means that it doesn't happen. No, retard.
It doesn't matter on Twitch. Maybe it mattered with him being on the Young Turks or whatever, but ultimately growing and building an audience on Twitch is something that, like, I mean, you can look at somebody...
Hasan is absolutely entertaining and a good speaker, and he's able to capture a certain audience. Hasan is talented, and you do have to be talented to have that level of success. And that does make people seethe when you say it. But the idea that that means he's not a Nepo baby is delusional. Absolutely, he would not be as popular. He would not have even had the chance to get where he is without all the opportunities that were afforded to him due to who he was.
You know, I don't want to be mean, right? But we're just going to use an example. Look at Frogan, right? You can have all the nepotism in the world, but sometimes it just doesn't hit.
With
the
the Young Turks. Yeah.
Which, you know, that's fine. I like Cenk Uyghur.
Right,
There's
I mean,
nothing wrong with that. He just didn't emerge totally out of nowhere.
Right.
Everybody,
Few people
turns
do.
out, is connected to somebody else. What did you make of the piece?
So I found it an interesting piece. I found it kind of curious because I, like you, I'm aware of that he exists, right? But you know, obviously I'm not on Twitch on a regular basis listening to his 8 hours of gaming and commentary while he's on
Gaming?
there. To me, in terms of the politics of what he said, which seems to be exercising the right a lot, you know, some of the things that he is being lambasted for seem to me to be sort of clumsy wordings of legitimate arguments. So, for example, on the Gaza thing, he's talking about the fact that he believes essentially that the Israeli response to October 7th has been so brutal that it can't be justified regardless of exactly what happened on October 7th. He regards it as disproportionate whether or not there were Israeli...
I think this is a fair analysis, by the way. I don't think that it's all encompassing. Like, for example, like interviewing the Houthi terrorist is like just
why it's
not
just like
defensible
taken
in
as a
any way.
given. This is not proven at all.
But in general, I think this is true.
Ethan
And-
literally repeats so much. I proved he was a terrorist. I proved he was... No, you didn't.
And I think also I do this too. I think that anybody who live streams all the time does this, where like you're talking and you just kind of you talk in like a hyperbole. People take it as that's what you meant, and then they get mad about it. Yeah, sure, of course.
People raped on October 7th or not. That is not something I would say. I don't think it is wise or sensitive to get into that whole debate about, you know, well, if people were or weren't raped, that changes or doesn't change the equation. But I see his central...
It's a bad soundbite. It's definitely a bounce. It's definitely a bad soundbite. That's really all there is to it. I mean, it sounds really bad when you hear somebody saying that.
The point is that the Israelis...
And by the way, like, I mean, you know, it takes one to know one. I get it.
...have gone in, killed people in the tens of thousands, and nothing can justify that.
I'm sorry, but Hasan's bad soundbites are nowhere near as bad as Asmongold's bad soundbites. Hasan's worst one, in terms of moral implication, is America deserved 9/11. That's the worst one. Asmongold said, if you have an inferior culture that has what I see as genocide baked in, then I should be able to genocide you. I should be able to wipe out your civilian population. Which is, I think, significantly worse in terms of scale.
That seems to me to be his argument. September 11th, again, I would not say what he said. I'm not sure that it means that he should be, I don't know, exiled from Twitch or anywhere else.
I certainly don't want.
And then half the sound bites that people go after Hasan for aren't even bad. Like a brave mujahideen, fucking Dan Crenshaw's eye hole. What's wrong with saying that? What is wrong with that?
Twitch, I'm against censorship. He should.
That's true. But according to the terms of service, the way that he conducted the interview and the way that he showed the videos of Hamas, I think it might have been Hezbollah, I don't remember exactly, and interviewing that guy, if you applied the terms of service, he should have been suspended for that. I'm not advocating for him being retroactively suspended for that, but if you look at what the rules are, he broke the rules. It's just
everyone hates Hasan for when he's funny. I hate Hasan for the 95% time where he's fucking cringe and had nothing of value. Real.
Be able to say whatever provocative things
just how it is.
He wants. I do not think, every criticism.
I don't think Hasan got banned for talking about Dan Crenshaw's eye hole being fucked by a brave mujahideen soldier, did he? I'm pretty sure Twitch is fine with you talking about how it's just like it's a proven fact that the way Dan Crenshaw. Well, he did. I thought he got banned for the 9/11 part.
Of what Israel does is necessarily anti-Semitic, and I'm always okay, what exactly did they say?
Right.
Never take their word for it on when that's being alleged. Now, all of that said, the things he's actually said over
I thought it was the 9/11 part was what he apologized for. Did he even apologize for the Dan Crenshaw thing?
the years seem pretty incendiary to me. Again, I'm not clutching my pearls. Unlike him, I don't wear any, so I have none
No pearls to clutch.
But
He shouldn't have if he did.
He does. He just says some awful stuff.
Well, I think
Jesus.
it's curious that Hezbollah
He says really violent stuff. He said I don't agree with Dan Crenshaw's views generally, but that he deserved to lose his eye and.
I mean, I would
deserve 9/11, and everyone who disagrees with him deserves to come to some violent end. And I think if right-wing people, and there are right-wing people who
He was brought to Congress and made to kiss Dan Crenshaw's eye socket.
similarly do use insane.
Who could that possibly be?
Contrarian ways of speaking would not be not just lionized but lusted over in the pages of the New York Times.
Wait, the 9/11 comment wasn't even TOS, but attacking Dan Crenshaw was breaking TOS. I don't believe that's true. The 9/11 comment, I think, would count as TOS. Let me check this. No, it all says that it was for the 9/11 statement. I look at the article said it was for the 9/11 statement. But anyway, it wouldn't be a problem because I was just repeating what Hasan said about Dan Crenshaw and the reason it got banned. I was just quoting Hasan. I would never say something like that. Because I respect the military.
Yeah. Back to Alaska. We love our cops, our law enforcement. We love our military, they're important. We love our cops, our law enforcement. We love our military, they're important. And when I'm in the jam, I know that I can call up the man, with the plan. When I'm on the run, all I gotta do is dial 911. We love our cops, our law enforcement. We love our military, they're important. We love our cops, our law enforcement.
Right, but Hasan wasn't saying something about veterans as a protected class or even using a protected class. He was just saying he was lying as a joke about what happened for this guy to lose his eye. All the articles say it was for the 9/11 comment, and the 9/11 comment is avowing mass violence. So that makes sense to me.
We love our military.
Fuck. I'm disrespecting the military. Apologize with tears, man. I'm sorry, Dan Crenshaw. I'm sorry.
When I'm on a run, all I gotta do is dial 911. We love our cops, our law enforcement. We love our veterans, they're important. We love our cops, our law enforcement. We love our veterans, they're important. And when they're out at war, you know I appreciate them more, thank you, Lord. When they keep us safe, you know they make America a better place. We love our cops, our law enforcement. We love our military, they're important. We love the cops, our law enforcement. We love the military, they're important. When I'm in the jail,
God, I love the US military. I respect troops so much. I love the troops. Thank you for your service.
Thank you for your service.
It's like Mutahar said. These people are out to protect our freedoms, true. Fuck Dan Crenshaw.
And so that there's something a little bit selective about what is a disqualifying way of making a provocative point.
Right, and that thing about Dan Crenshaw, I wouldn't defend that in any way at all. And so this is, in some ways, the perils of discussing a person with whom I'm vaguely
take a bullet for
familiar.
freedom
If our
every single day.
commenters want to draw my attention to comments like that one about Crenshaw or other things which are plainly
Right,
He's right. If you can't criticize the whole country, then we're at risk of losing freedom of speech. However, there's a large line that's obviously been crossed. Who the fuck thinks you can't criticize Israel? Besides,
I don't know, probably some of the students who are in your country on student visas or green cards, who attended protests or wrote op-eds about how the university should divest from Israel, and how Palestine should be free and have a state. Yeah, maybe the 1.7 thousand students you just sent out of the country. Dude.
it's people that are like the Israeli government. That's it. Nobody else thinks that.
And right, we always want to go and check. Well, what exactly did he say? I never want to rely on someone else's characterization because a lot of those sometimes they're unfair. Right. Even for people I still do think are like not good. Like Candace Owens, for example, said a lot of things I think are insane over the years. But people say, oh, she's this thing she said was crazy, and they'll look and go, well, that's not that is being not fairly characterized. It happens to everybody. It happens to us, I'm sure.
No, and yeah, absolutely. And one of the conversations that I did see being seized upon was Hasan Piker talking about...
I can respect him saying that, and I wish more people, like, the way he said that is the way that I think about things, too. Like, that's really the way I am. It's like, even if you disagree with the person on something, there are still fair and unfair ways of characterization.
And as far as I could tell...
Yeah, I do think Asmongold is generally as fair as he can manage. He's just, like, actually mentally disabled and can't interpret most political issues past, like, the most surface-level presentation he's been given by the Fox News viewers watching. So I do actually believe Asmongold when he says that. I feel something of a kinship as a fellow free thinker, myself, who's willing to hear out arguments you disagree with. One of the few, It's just sad that Asmongold is so stunted as a fucking, like, 35-year-old man.
From what I read, his argument was that it's a legitimate resistance movement that has some political support in Lebanon, which the latter part of that is a objective fact, and that he was... I'm not even sure if it's fair to say defending them, contextualizing them in that way. Now, if he said something that was more endorsing of direct acts of violence, then obviously I wouldn't defend that. But it is, I think one of the reasons that I'm approaching this... Now, if he said something that was more endorsing of direct acts of violence, then obviously...
Oh, so he's representing the Americans.
Democratic congressman who has been at the absolute forefront, I would argue, of delegitimizing or seeking to delegitimize criticism of Israel that is legitimate by painting it as inherently anti-Semitic or whatever.
That's true. He's right about this. Baldy's right.
Pro-terrorism. And so... To your point about not taking people's word for it, I'm highly reluctant to take Richie Torres's word for it.
He did say it doesn't matter if effing rapes happened on October 7th. That's a pretty awful way to put it, I think.
It is a pretty awful way to put it. I mean,
you're just so wrapped up on your ideological commitment that, what Israel is doing is wrong that you have to say, well, don't pay attention to that or whatever.
Yeah. But that's not what he was saying, though, is it? Again, they're like, this retard has just said... Oh, I understand that sometimes people say crazy things that seem crazy, but if you actually look at the context of what they're trying to argue, it isn't actually crazy. And then he has taken that tiny quote and then in his mind interpreted it to mean, don't even bother thinking about that. But no, the point he was making was that it doesn't change he says in the next line, it doesn't change the dynamic for me one bit. Because the point is, even if there were rapes, this is still fucked up.
I mean, look, those words are awful. They are part of a larger discussion, but I don't think you should say those words. His argument is the Israeli response was so brutal that it would not be justified even if there were rapes.
There's so many other things he says that
I actually think that this is an incredibly reasonable and sound and even-handed explanation of what was said. Yeah, I think this is actually a W for Baldy here.
I can't even repeat on this show because they're so expletive.
They're being very fair, yeah.
Which is
it's overly reasonable, yeah.
What you can do on Twitch, but not on our show.
Yeah.
Interesting, though, that he does have a massive following. He's part of the alternative media ecosystem, and gets a lot more attention for himself. And probably that's what the New York Times was trying to look at. How can, again, it's another Joe Rogan of the left kind of situation. How can we have an appealing, have someone who speaks to...
Yeah, this is a giga out-of-touch journo moment. Literally, everyone is groaning. I groan at this. Asmongold groans at this. These guys groan at this shit. It's like the most out-of-touch journo talking point in the fucking world right now.
People and has a massive audience that's not totally right-wing branded or vibe-based as the Joe Rogan and Theo Vons and all those people are. But
right. And then in the piece, there was this argument about whether
the reason why a lot of people they're having a hard time finding, quote, Joe Rogans of the left is because the viewpoints that they have aren't popular. That's the reason why. And so Joe Rogan is Joe Rogan because of his popularity and his fame and his notoriety. The fact is that these viewpoints that are being pushed by like a very small, very militant group of people on the internet, but they don't represent a larger audience. And you see that in audience discrepancies as well. That's why, for example, you can have like the, left-wing versus right-wing like dichotomy.
Joe Rogan left is Mike David. Dude, can I just say fuck Mike David? Can I just say, like, actually, fuck... Okay, never mind. Don't fuck Mike David. So I was very upset with Mr. Mike David for a moment there, because not only did I have to wait a month and 26 fucking days for a new episode, but once the new episode aired, it has taken over a fucking day to get it on his website. I have been sitting here checking and checking and checking and checking. It's finally there.
Of, like popularity. Maybe the reason why there's a lot more right-wing people that are popular online is because there's more people that are right-wing that are online. So it's harder to
I'm like sitting there, I'm checking, and Clippers too didn't get anything live, I guess. Because the only thing that got posted to YouTube was the Kanye interview. I watched the segment, but like I probably was, if the rest of the episode was available to me, I probably would have skipped that part because I don't really care about the Kanye stuff. He's right that I've stopped paying attention.
Of a, base of operations in a place where you're outnumbered. I mean, it's common sense.
There is, in fact, two overtly political,
I don't know what to say.
Obviously animated by politics in a way that Rogan isn't, and so does that limit his appeal in a way that Rogan's appeal is less limited.
And he works out. Amazing.
There we go. Astonishing.
Up next, the Trump administration lashes out at Amazon, calling the company hostile for...
Yeah, it's crazy. I did see the article, and I do think it's kind of funny to see these articles get put out there. The woke left don't want a Joe Rogan. Well, I don't really know. Like, what I'm saying is that, like, I understand Joe Rogan is the left, and the left left him. I get that. I understand that. I'm not trying to go and push that. But my point is that the reason why...
Dude, the left, Joe Rogan, that's such bullshit, man. It's so crazy. He flipped. His opinions have changed, you fucking disingenuous retard.
You don't have, like, a woke voice that's, like, extremely popular in a mainstream way. The reason why is because the ideas aren't popular in a mainstream way. When you constantly take the side of the 20 in an 80-20 argument, you're not going to get an audience of the 80. That's just common sense. And so that's the reason why a lot of these people don't catch on and they're not popular. It's because they're constantly trying to defend and run defense for ideas that are just fundamentally incongruent with reality. And I think that's the big problem that they have.
Give us some examples, Asmongold. Give us some examples. So what ideas do the left push that are fundamentally... Is it just trans stuff? Is that all you're talking about here? That's all I can think of. Is that trans stuff goes against biological reality. That's what he's gesturing to here.
Isn't Gavin Newsom trying to be that voice? Yes, he is. And I think that not only is he not gaining ground with right-wing people, I think that he's also losing ground with left-wing people at a faster rate. Now, I think that he's alienating them because he was the guy that was using the words Latinx. So, like, a lot of people are stupid and they're not stupid. It's very, very weird paradox that you can talk about. But people are both. And the Latinx, yeah, exactly, right? And so one thing that I think a lot of people are good at is being able to sense inauthenticity. And I think that, like, you can use a couple of examples of this. You can look at certain streamers that feel like, they're
gay posting.
Call, like, industry
that's an easy timeout.
Like that. Okay. And people just don't have any sort of respect or attention for it at all. You could also look at cases where it's certain candidates that are running for public office that they don't really feel authentic or legitimate at all, and so people just don't like them. And there's all of these examples. I don't want to list names as streamers, okay? I don't want to do that. I mean, everybody's going to have their own separate list. But the point is that whenever you have somebody, and this is the reason why I think that, like, the whole argument of, like, oh, Trump, like, you know, is a felon and all of this, like, fell apart. It's because any reasonable person can see that there's, like, very clearly a bias when Hunter Biden is playing GTA online in real life, but he's not in jail. But we want to have Trump be in jail.
Dude, they tried so hard to get this guy. They literally stuck him with a fucking charge for not filling out his firearms form correctly and not stating that he has a drug habit or some shit. That's what they got him on. That's how clean Hunter Biden actually was. All they could get him on was buying a firearm when he's a fucking drug addict and not disclosing it. It's just so crazy. Please tell me, what was he doing that was playing GTA in real life? He was having sex with hookers. Okay. Wow.
No. Like, that to me is a non-starter. That, no, you don't care about the law, you don't care about the rules, you don't care about any of that. You just care about doing it to the people that you don't like, right? It's already biased. Yeah, I don't want to hear it. Both can be criminals. Yeah, but if they're both not prosecuted and treated the same way, then it doesn't matter. A rule, when it's not applied to everyone, isn't a rule, it's a weapon. And so when you see people that are applying a rule to one group of people, but not another group of people, the respect for that rule gets destroyed. And so that's the reason why people don't care about that kind of stuff. And Hunter Biden is not important. Exactly. Doesn't that make my point even stronger? That this is a person that's not even relevant, that's not even important, and even he's being protected. If Hunter Biden was a working class black guy, where would he be right now? Where would he be?
Smoking crack?
Jail. Everybody knows, and everybody knows it. Every single person in this chat fucking knows it. And the only reason why he's not is because he's the president's son. That's the reason.
Just cap.
And no.
Yeah, exactly. For what? For what? The thing he did get charged for was like the most minor retarded shit ever. A black person would absolutely not get put in prison for that. Ain't how it works, buddy. I'm sorry, if you put in every black person that lied on a firearms form about whether they smoke crack or not, I'm sorry, somehow, I think the black incarcerated population would, like, double. Okay.
Not going to respect any sort of arguments to authority or the rule of law when the person is doing that. If you really believe in this, then stand on it. You don't, because you don't believe in it. Therefore, I don't believe in it, and I don't respect it either. Don't let people use your own virtue against you.